Welcome back to FineScale Modeler Weekly. I'm Kendra Bell.
And I'm Tim Kidwell. You remember a couple of weeks ago we talked with Tamiya America marketing manager Fred Medell about some new kits?
I do, yeah.
Well, here's the Tamiya 135th scale Schwimmwagen Type 166 wide wheel version that he told us about. The Schwimmwagen, or swimming car, was powered by a 4-cylinder 1,131cc engine that could drive 2 or 4 wheels over land or a propeller in the back for waterborne travel.
World War II Germany built more than 15,000 Schwimmwagens, and Tamiya's original kit debuted in 1998. That one had narrow wheels, while this release has wide wheels. Why the difference? According to the information guide in the kit, the 200mm tires were designed for maximum off-road performance, but the lack of materials meant many of these vehicles were equipped with standard 133mm tires.
There are 2 new sprues for this release. The first includes the wide wheels and tires. The front and rear wheels build up from 2 parts each. Instead of rubber tires, the kit supplies 5 styrene parts to glue around the wheel's circumference to model the treads. You'll also find new tools, an MG34 machine gun, a Kar 98 rifle, and Panzerfaust 30.
The other new sprue provides 2 new figures to accompany your Schwimmwagen. The parts for the driver and standing officer appear nicely molded, as you'd expect from Tamiya. The officer carries an MP40 submachine gun and wears binoculars. There are faint mold lines, but those shouldn't be a problem to clean up.
Overall, the Tamiya Schwimmwagen should be an easy build with lower and upper hulls, full front suspension, skid plate, a well-molded interior tub, front and rear seats, and a detailed engine. Of note, you'll have to cut the windshield glass from a sheet of clear acetate, and the kit includes mesh for the radiator grille.
The instructions provide color callouts for paint throughout, and a separate information sheet gives development, design, and production background. A marking guide provides colors for 2 Schwimmwagens, one in 3-color camo and the other in dark yellow. The all-new decals include license plates and rank and insignia for the figures.
I'm really looking forward to this kit being built up for review.
It looks like a great way to start modeling World War II vehicles.
I think you're right. Kendra, I know modelers who buy aftermarket decals and have a stash as extensive as any plastic kits in their collection.
There are plenty of decal makers out there, and it just so happens we're looking at 2 new sets from Bobs Aviation Graphics. The F-16 Bel Colore Vipers for the 1/48th scale Tamiya and Kinetic F-16C Fighting Falcons, and the F-15A Fightin 49ers for the 1/48th scale Great Wall and Hasegawa Eagles.
In 2023-2024, the 31st Fighter Wing from Aviano Air Base in Italy, along with the 510th and 555th Fighter Squadrons, painted 3 of their Vipers in heritage schemes, celebrating the unit's history. The Two Bobs waterslide decal sheet provides markings for all 3 jets, including tail decorations, stencils, and low visibility insignia. You also get a full-color paint and marking guide for the 3 aircraft, with callouts for AK, Hitaka, Mr. Color, and MRP brands.
The Fightin 49ers were originally designated the 49th Pursuit Group and was one of the first U.S. combat units to deploy to the South Pacific during World War II and transitioned as the 49th Fighter Wing to the F-15 in 1977. This 2 Bobs set includes 2 sheets of waterslide decals with 2 different font style stencils for 2 complete aircraft and markings for aircraft from all 3 of the 49th squadrons. Included is a full-color paint and marking guide and callouts for AK, Hitaka, Mr. Color, and MRP paints.
Printed by Cartograph, you know these decals will be top-notch and the designs look stunning.
Tim, do you collect decals?
Kendra, you know the rules. You don't talk about Decal Club.
Even as 3D printing becomes more popular, many companies have started producing parts for their own plastic kits, while others now produce aftermarket parts for existing kits.
Reskit produces both its own 3D printed scale model kits and aftermarket detail sets for existing models from other brands. We received 2 such sets for the 1/48th scale PBY 5A, OA 10A, Catalina, produced variously by Revell, Monogram, and Hasegawa.
First off, you'll notice the incredibly thoughtful packaging and printing when you open the open engine bay set. Some of the more delicate parts trays come in resealable baggies. The parts trays are taller than the parts themselves, protecting them from damage. The printed detail of the Pratt & Whitney Twin Wasp 1200 horsepower engines has to be seen to be appreciated, including the rocker box sump and spark plug leads. The intake and exhaust manifolds come as separate parts. You'll find a realistic firewall, an amazingly full engine bay that is sure to satisfy even the most detail-oriented of builders. The set includes separate propellers, hubs, cowls, and myriad detail parts. The instruction book shows you how to build and install both the port and starboard engines in 34 steps. A small decal sheet provides markings for the engines and props.
In case having the engine open on your PBY just isn't enough, Reskit offers a set of maintenance platforms and crew. Again, I'm impressed by the care in packaging and the high-walled trays to protect parts. The print fidelity is first class, and the set provides platforms for both engines. Also included are 5 crew figures standing, sitting, or laying down while working. There are even 2 toolboxes and a photo-etched metal fret of wrenches that isn't mentioned on the single instruction sheet, which does include a brief painting guide for Gunzi Mr. Color and Mr. Hobby paints.
If you've never used 3D printed resin parts before, be warned, they are fragile, so use extreme care when snipping or cutting the parts from the supports.
And remember that you'll want to use superglue instead of plastic cement because plastic cement does not work with the resin.
But in our estimation, Reskit is setting a high bar for aftermarket details.
Most people have heard of B-17, B-25, and B-29 bombers, but I think it might surprise some to know that there was a B-10 bomber developed between World Wars I and II.
Developed by Martin, the B-10 was the first all-metal monoplane bomber regularly used by the U.S. Army Air Corps, which became the U.S. Army Air Forces in 1941, and finally the U.S. Air Force in 1947. But that's getting into the clouds.
B-10, or the B-10, went on to have a career outside of the U.S. as Martin was approved to sell the airframe to other countries. French manufacturer Frrom, long known for its unusual subjects, has released a kit version of the B-10 in its 1/72nd scale Martin Type 166 in Dutch service. Delivered to the Royal Netherlands East Indies Air Force, or MLKNIL, the 166 saw extensive modification from the Dutch, with a greenhouse that ran from the cockpit to the gunner's position, bomb shackles between the engines and fuselage, more powerful engines, and adjustments to the wings.
The dark gray and clear plastic sprues come packaged in separate resealable bags, which is good because a few parts came loose during shipping. There is a parts map to help you find parts, even ones that have come loose. Overall, the parts look good, but you'll have to clean up some flash and mold lines. The panel lines shouldn't need deepening on the wings, but we did find a flaw on the bottom half of the port wing that you'll want to scrape down.
The fuselage halves exhibit some interior detail. However, the panel lines appear shallow and may need to be rescribed after assembly. The fuselage join doesn't fall along a natural seam, so be prepared for some cleanup there. Be ready for plenty of masking for the long greenhouse and cockpit glass. The instructions provide paint and marking guides for 3 Type 166s, delivered to the MLKNIL, M544 in blue and yellow between June 1938 and September 1939, M5019 in camouflage and orange triangles, summer 1940, and M556 with Jiminy Cricket on the nose, Singapore, December 1941. Decals provide fuselage, wing, and tail markings, as well as flight instrumentation.
Frrom adds another unusual aircraft to its eclectic lineup in the Azur series.
It may have few parts, but I'd say the Martin Type 166 is a kit for experienced modelers. You'll need to know your way around small parts and how to properly trim and putty them.
And in the end, you'll have a unique aircraft for your 1/72nd scale collection.
That's right. Look for reviews of the Tamiya Schwimmwagen and more kits in the pages of FineScale Modeler magazine and at FineScale.com,
where you can also find useful scale modeling advice to help make your next build even better.
And don't forget to visit shop.trains.com for FSM back issues, tools, books, gifts, and more. You'll remember last season when we used lighter fluid to clean up pin washes? Well, I was at the hobby store the other day and I happened to see Solven from the company Gunprimer. Solven is similar to lighter fluid, except that lighter fluid is light naphtha and Solven is heavy naphtha. So the idea with Solven is that it gives you just a little bit more working time and doesn't evaporate quite as fast as what lighter fluid would. Now you can buy all of these things from Gunprimer separately, the Solven, cleaning sheets, and micro swabs, or you can buy them all together, like what I've done here, as a set for about $16, $17. I haven't used it. We're going to give it a shot, but first I want to open each of these things, starting with the solvent itself. All right, we get a dropper, a glass one, eyedropper, and the Solven in a glass bottle. Now, looking this up online, it does say do not put the Solven in a plastic bottle or anything like that. Use it in the glass that it was given to you in. Cleaning sheets. Now these kind of look like, they're just like little cosmetic sheets is really what they look like. So it comes with this clip, and to use the clip, you just sort of pull that centerpiece out. It recommends that you put about 6 in there, so we can put 6 in and then push that back, and oh, look at that, look at that. It keeps all 6 of those. Okay. And then, of course, we have the micro swabs, 500 of them, and you know, this is nothing new, but if you guys haven't seen something like this before, basically toothpicks, wooden toothpicks with some cotton at the end there, wrapped very tightly. All we need now, something that has some panel lines that have been filled. And yes, I have used Tamiya panel line accent color, black, for both of these. And I wasn't purposefully messy, but you know, sometimes a mess happens. I'm gonna do a couple of different ways. One way that I saw that they use Solven when exploring their website was actually eyedropping directly onto the model and then cleaning it up. I'm gonna try that way. And then also I think maybe just, you know, putting a little bit onto our sheets here and seeing how that works too. So, you know, one of the things that you would not be able to do with, if you were going to do this with lighter fluid is just, I mean, I guess you could just dump it on there, but that's kind of nice. Just being able to put that right where you want it. Now remember, I've got that big spot there. And under normal circumstances, you'd want to let this dry completely before you come in. Now what they do, oh, that cleaned that up. There it went. Clean that up very nicely. What they say with the Solven is that you don't have to wait like a half hour or so for all of this to dry. Once you're pretty sure that the wash in the panel lines has dried down, you can go ahead and come in with the Solven and just clean that up. And that looks really neat. That looks really nice. Don't want to apply too much, just a little drop. And come back in with the and look at that. All right, and we'll go ahead and we'll hit this big mess I've got over here. Look at that. There it went. I'm actually really impressed with how this is turning out. But what about some of these areas that are a little bit harder to get to? Well, obviously that is when the micro swab comes into play. That'll help us get into one of these tight areas. As you can see here, I've got this sort of inaccessible corner. Just go ahead and, oh my gosh, that came away, like right away. I didn't even have to apply any elbow grease. That just went away. Let's try it over here. And what also I'm seeing is that it's not leaving any streaks or anything like that on the surface. I'm really liking that a lot. This is very clean. Well, I am actually pleasantly surprised by Solven and the whole system here. You know how it is. You go into the hobby store, or maybe you see something online, you're like, yeah, I'll give that a shot. I'll take a look and see. And then sometimes you're like, yeah, it works, and then sometimes, But for 16 bucks, you get a pretty good system here, and then you can, refill these separately, or you know that you can get these in the cosmetic aisle. So maybe you go ahead and save a little bit on the cloths. But overall, I really like Solven. It did the job, and I do like it better than using lighter fluid. Somewhere in the 2010s, people got the idea that rage got engagement. And it works, right? Being angry, pounding things, throwing a kit at the wall, saying just awful things. It gets people, to watch you, gets eyeballs on you. That isn't really the philosophy, and never has been the philosophy of FineScale Modeler magazine. What we want to do is be supportive of the hobby, and we want to be supportive of you, the hobbyists. So if there's a kit that comes through and we see some things that could be improved upon, or if we find out ways during a review of working around issues, what we're going to do is we're going to share what we've found with you. We're not here to trash somebody's kit, some company's kit. That's just not who we are or what we've ever done. Can we say that, well, like I did a couple of weeks ago, yeah. Am I going to probably continue to use my toothbrushes instead of the AK Interactive Splatter Brush that I bought? Probably, but that doesn't mean that I would never use the splatter brush, or that you as a modeler wouldn't find the splatter brush useful. It's just that I'm right now very used to using the toothbrush for those effects. So, the philosophy here is always going to be supportive. We're going to be additive. We want to make the hobby better, and we want to make your next model better, your experience better. So I hope that clears some things up. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.